I woke up at 2:30 a.m. I could not get back to sleep. I had all these thoughts running through my head, all these ideas, all these questions, so many questions. I'm Matt Cumming, a graphic designer, author, songwriter, and massive fan of all things stylish and creative. When I discovered the remarkable results that everyday people like me were achieving through the Australian Institute of Creative Design's fashion mentoring program, I instantly knew that I had to give it a go to see if I could turn my own secret lifelong dream of creating a fashion label into a reality. But to really put it to the ultimate test, I decided to squeeze their normal program into an insanely short time frame. So, with the help of fashion business expert Grace DeMayo, I'll be fast-tracking 12 months worth of research, planning, branding, design, web development, production, marketing, customer service, growth management, and so much more to see if I can build a brand new fashion label from scratch in just 12 weeks. So join me for 84 crazy days to watch every single step of the agony and ecstasy unfold throughout my 12-week fashion launch. This week has been a super intense week. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the most intense week out of the whole process. Well, at least I hope so, because there's been an absolutely incredible learning curve. I really had no idea exactly how much I would need to take on board, how much I would need to get my head around in order to just move through the initial phase of setting up a fashion label. So many decisions that I've had to make this week, including finalising the name of the brand, what that logo and that identity is going to look like, who my ideal customer is, all of the things relating to the brand. More importantly at this point is the supply chain, organising everything that is involved, and that's the big part that I was not aware of. That's really, I guess, been the hugest learning curve for me this week.
You know, my hat's off to you. I don't know how you persuaded me to do it in 12 weeks.
It was fantastic to meet Grace online. We did a Skype call. We went through all of the details of I guess, where I'm at, at the beginning of the week. We talked about branding and how, my knowledge will, help speed things along a little bit, because obviously branding is what I do for a living. So she asked me a lot of questions to see where I was at, and also I think most importantly, she stressed how important it is right in this early stage to get a product, to actually have something to take to market.
Make decisions quickly. Don't get stuck on little things.
Setting up the supply chain. Now, to me, this is the area that I'm most concerned about and have been pretty stressed about this week, because it's an area that I have no idea about. In fact, I had no idea how many decisions were going to be involved in getting that set up.
I say there's about 1,000 decisions between now and getting your business up online.
I thought I'd probably made about 1,000 decisions in the first day this week. So yeah, it was pretty accurate. And now at this point, the end of the week, I am absolutely convinced that without Grace's help, there is no way I would be able to achieve this in a 12-week period. There's far too much to know and to understand, particularly for someone like me who has no background in the business of fashion. And the way I feel about it is that if I can achieve this in 12 weeks, imagine what other people can achieve in 12 months, which is the standard time frame for this fashion business mentoring program that I'm involved with. Number one was just information overload. There has been an incredible amount of information that I've had to take on board. I've definitely felt quite overwhelmed in terms of the amount of knowledge that I need to get even before I begin. My number two challenge for this week, and this is possibly been equally as intense and definitely very frustrating, and that is organising a supply chain. I didn't actually think that I would have to get my supply chain organised this early, but as it turns out, I definitely do. In fact, I was speaking to my pattern maker, and she said a typical time frame, to order in fabric, just to order in the fabric, was 90 days.
The thing that scares me for you is fabrics. Yeah. They're very hard to come by. Australia isn't a very good place to get fabrics from. It's an overseas process, and an overseas process takes a long time. It's a 90-day turnaround from a fabric.
And at that point I thought, I've only got 78 days to go. I think my first great opportunity this week was meeting a pattern maker online, Tracy Crawford, who also has extensive knowledge and is in the fashion industry from the UK and also in Australia. She'll be making my patterns, which is one thing off my list at least, and also grading those patterns, the various sizes. I think the second opportunity that has occurred to me this week is that because I've been doing a lot of research into other brands in the space that I'm heading for, what I've seen is that there aren't a lot of high fashion brands or high quality fashion brands that are A, ethical, and that B, are unique but not too strange, that they won't fit the particular market that I'm aiming for. I've then had to start thinking about not only the quality of the fabric, but also how ethical is the manufacturer, and in terms of the actual fabric itself, is it toxic? Because what I didn't realise is that there have been some fairly big furores around some of the brands who have been labelled cancerous brands because their clothing has actually been highly toxic. The third and potentially most important sort of revelation and opportunity that has occurred to me this week was speaking to what I call my avatar. So I've found somebody who sort of fits exactly the target market that I'm aiming for with this particular label. This is probably the highlight of my week. Very encouraging because he loved the concept of the brand, the name, and the concept behind the name. I was actually quite concerned about the fact that he might not even shop online. But thankfully, in discussions with my avatar, I discovered that was not the case. In fact, men like him are becoming more and more confident and shopping more and more online for their fashion needs. I think what's bringing me the most excitement and enjoyment in this process this week, despite it being an incredibly intense week, is just the idea that it might actually be possible. And whilst it feels a very long way away right now, because I have learned a lot this week, and I have progressed, even though it's been very frustrating, and there are still some elements that I'm yet to nail down that I really need to, but certainly in my understanding of what needs to take place, I'm starting to feel that maybe this isn't completely impossible. I guess out of all of the incredible number of things that I've learned this week, first and foremost is just simply the complexity of launching a fashion label from scratch. I've started lots of small businesses, or at least helped other clients start lots of small businesses before. Really, none of them have been anywhere near as complex as something like this. So it's definitely been a huge learning curve in that department. The other thing that I've learned this week is just basically all of the things that need to come into place in order for you to even place an order to manufacture a fashion garment. Some of the things like design, pattern, fabric, samples, trims, tech packs, all of these different things that I really wasn't clear on beforehand. So that's been a process that I've definitely had to go through and learn in detail very quickly in order to get this moving. A minor but important aspect of what I've had to learn this week is just where to find suppliers. Obviously, there are some of the big spaces like Alibaba, but really I felt, deep in my gut straight away that wasn't necessarily the best place. Thankfully, because of my mentor, she was able to point me in the right direction of some more, industry level suppliers, and I definitely have felt much more confident about talking to them to make sure that I get a high quality result at the end of this. I think the final realization, or the final thing that I've learned this week is that my budget is far too small. I think it would be much easier if I could talk to these suppliers, in terms of ordering a much larger order, because the high quality suppliers are mostly not interested in small quantity orders. So it's been a very frustrating and difficult thing, to find out that in a way, as far as they were concerned, I'm shooting too low to start with. But really, I don't have a choice. So I've got to keep moving forward and try and find somebody that will help me, and with a minimum order. This week has really shaped me in the area of trust and decision making. There have been so many decisions that have had to be made so quickly, I haven't had time to deliberate. So I've really had to trust in my gut, and in particular, trust my mentor Grace, to know that anything that came up that I felt right and good about, that I just had to go with that and make that decision and move on it straight away. I really didn't have the luxury this week of deliberating around, decision making. So that's definitely been an area that I think that I've grown just in this short period of time, is just being able to make fast decisions, trust my gut, and have, thank goodness I've got a mentor that I can also trust in that area. Well, it's the end of a week, and just as I thought, it has been a pretty wild ride already, just 7 days in. So, whilst this week has been, incredibly manic, I still have a lot to get through in a very short period of time. So next week is still going to be about, locking down my supply chain. I still need to find a definite supplier for the manufacture of my garments, and also I've still got lots of decisions to make about things like trims and the final source of fabric. Whilst I know the sort of quality that I want, I still don't have an actual source for that fabric. So those are the things that have to happen next week, and to be honest, if they don't, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this happen.